Good morning, guys. It is Wednesday, January the 11th, and we had a great meeting last night. Every time we have that meeting, it's like a weekly reset in my brain because I walk away. I always walk away with so much experience, strength, and hope that you guys share with me. So I don't know. I just love that meeting. I love the format of it. I love the way we do it. So thank you guys for that. Seriously, I want to talk today about step 2. Again, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I had a hard time believing in God. And step 2 doesn't say anything about God; it just says a power greater than ourselves. But I think deep down, I knew that it was going to have to be God. And so for me, that was the start of, all right, I need to really start thinking about this God thing. I had problems with God in the past, and et cetera, et cetera. And on page 45, Bill basically spells out for us what the problem is. That's the very first paragraph, full paragraph of itself. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously. But where and how were we to find this power? And so that's the dilemma we're at with step 2. What I was really doing was I was just putting off the inevitable. On page 46, I did kind of, again, get that hope, that glimmer of hope. On page 46, it says, much to our relief, we discovered we did not need to consider another conception of God, another person's conception of God. So in other words, I didn't need to consider JD's God. I didn't need to think, that didn't have to be my God. The God that I was raised with in church all those years, my God didn't have to be that pastor's God. So that was really promising. Our own conception, Bill goes on, our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make the approach and to effect a contact with Him. And so that gave me the strength I needed. On page 47, right in the smack dab middle of the page, do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? That's step 2 in a nutshell. That's all we're saying. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And so, again, like I was saying, on page 50, actually, what I was really doing was I was putting off the inevitable from the sense of I was looking at people with religion. I was looking at people like the pastor I grew up with in church. I was looking at those people, and I saw, them preaching one thing but doing something different. And so I would use that. And Bill sums it up for us right there at the very top of page 50. Instead, we looked at the human defects of these people and sometimes used their shortcomings as a basis of wholesale condemnation. We talked of tolerance while we were intolerant ourselves. So in other words, I would see people who said, oh, I'm Christian and I'm a believer and blah, blah, blah. And then they would go to the liquor store on Sundays and buy beer or whatever. Or they were the ones sometimes committing the worst sins. So I would use that and say, okay, that's the religion. I don't want that. No way. I don't want nothing to do with God. If that's God, I remember the pastor I grew up with, he would say one thing, but it was okay for him to do these things because he is the pastor. That was a God I didn't want anything to do with. So I really struggled with the whole religious thing. And religion really kind of kept me out of the rooms early on. So I was hesitant, though, coming into step 2. I was hesitant because, as I shared yesterday, at that point, coming in, I had already given up, so I really didn't have anything to lose, but I was still hesitant. I was still apprehensive about saying, okay, getting this God thing, starting to get this God thing hammered down. But, some people said I was agnostic. I'm not. I never have been. But for those folks who don't believe in God or don't want to believe in God, there is a lot of examples where we believed in something. Back in the day, people used to think the world was flat. People believed the world was flat until Columbus showed up and said, hey, I'm going to sail that way instead of this way. And they're like, you're going to fall off. You're going to fall off the planet, People said that man could never fly. And the Big Book talks about all this, by the way, on page 51. Man can never fly, but yet we fly planes every day. We said that we believed that man would never step foot on the moon, but yet we've been to the moon. Me, not me personally. Hell, I remember back in the day when I believed the Astros were never going to see the World Series, much less win a World Series, too. So it's okay for us to believe something, but we have to be open to the fact that we may be wrong. We may be wrong in our beliefs. I was wrong in my belief that the God for me had to be the same exact God as the pastor in the pulpit. I was wrong there. And it's great because on page 51, Bill sums all this up. In the realm of the material, men's minds were fettered by superstition, tradition, and all sorts of fixed ideas. So basically what he's saying is, because you have all these preconceived notions or ideas about God, or preconceived ideas against a God, it's sometimes hard for us. And I know it was for me. And what they're asking you to do is set those prejudices aside, set those preconceived notions aside. That's just like I had to do with my with the God of my upbringing. I had to set everything I thought I knew about God aside and say, okay, Lord, here we are. You can call him supreme being, creative intelligence, like Bill talks about. We're not asking you to subscribe to a religion. This has nothing at all to do with a religion. At all. If it did, I'd have been out the door long ago. I'd probably be at the bar drunk or dead. One's probably dead. So this has nothing to do at all about asking you to subscribe to a religion. Again, the pastor for me growing up, he was telling me that his God was the only God that would heal me, that would save me. It had to be his way, his God, or else I was doomed to eternal damnation. So that God did not work for me. And so I said, okay, fine, I guess I'm just doomed to eternal damnation. But for me, I have to call him God because I believe it's the same God that millions of other people share. What else am I going to call him? I don't know what else to call him. So for me, yeah, that's God. It's the God of the Bible. For me, that's me. But it doesn't have to be your God. This has nothing to do with religion. All we're saying is you have to have a power greater than yourself. And for me, that worked out to be God. Ask JD about the power greater than him. And he gives you a wonderful answer about that. So, we're talking at the end of the day a God of our own conception, a God of our own understanding. Matter of fact, Ebby T was the one who looked at Bill and said, why don't you choose your own conception of God? And that's what did it for Bill. And that's what did it for me. At the end of the day, we're looking for a power greater than ourselves. And I'm here to tell you, my God, the God that I believe in, is definitely greater than any human power on this planet. So I wanted to leave those words of encouragement with you guys this morning. Again, thank you guys so much for a wonderful meeting last night. Had a blast, and I really walked away with a lot. So if you guys need anything, remember today is Wednesday, and Wednesdays and Thursdays are my roughest day. So I may not be able to respond to a call, but I can always respond to a text or even an email, drew@soberschool.org. I'm usually pretty good about that stuff. So anyway, love you guys. I'll let you go. And remember, you can't get drunk if you don't take that first drink.